Good morning, Young Kings. Time for your more motivation this morning. Did things a little different this morning. I did get up and I walked 3 miles this morning. Still going on that rehab and restoration process, getting back to a healthier state so I can be more productive in life. So 3 miles today, it felt pretty good. The leg is still not all the way healed. I wanted to try to test it and see if I could run today, but that's part of being injured. You're gonna have to be disciplined enough to know when to push and when not to push. So today was wisdom just to walk a little further, but not actually start running and putting impact on there. Although it's not hurting as much, there's still indications there that it's not all the way where it needs to be in order for me to have an increased activity level on it. So I'll continue to walk. In that, I hope there's enough wisdom and understanding in you to understand, like, it's not just my leg I'm rehabbing. This is a whole way of life. This is the leg is a physical representation of what's going on, but there's a lot of other things that I'm rehabbing in life. So and it's probably the same with you. Never, I won't say never, but a good portion of your life, 9 times out of 10, when you're going through something, you don't have the ability to stop everything and just deal with one thing. You're going to have to deal with some things on a multitude of fronts. So some of them may be physical, some of them may be relational, some of them may be spiritual, some of them may be employment. Like, those different areas of your life can have different impacts, or you can be dealing with multiple things at the same time. So just because you have one injury and it may be your primary thing that comes and captures your attention, that needs immediate assistance, that doesn't cease the rest of the areas of your life from just being perfect. In my life, yes, I have this physical limitation as far as my leg is going on, but it's not just my leg. It's other areas of my life. So that's what I kind of wanted to talk about, that recovery and rehab phase as you go through life. It's difficult. It's challenging, and I see why a lot of people give up. I understand the mindset behind people saying it's not worth it because it's challenging, and it's difficult to try to really be better. The easiest thing is to make an excuse to say, hey, you know what, it wasn't meant to be, it is, and you can come up with a multitude of excuses of why something didn't happen. I remember in college, I pledged IOTA, and I haven't really stayed in contact with them since college, or just periodically. I don't know why. It just the season in my life just hasn't allowed me to do that. But we had a definition behind excuses, and it went like this. It says, excuses are tools of incompetence which build monuments of nothingness. Those who engage in excuses are seldom capable of anything except excuses. And we had to learn that. It's like, I understand, like, excuses are plentiful when you don't want to do something. You can find a justification, and I'm starting to understand why people fall short of their goals and reaching their goals is because excuses are plentiful. I remember talking, I think I told you all about the candidate in the officer candidate school that wanted to quit. And I asked him, like, why do you want to quit? When did you stop being hungry? And, he was giving me all these excuses. He had this going on in his life. He was in a relationship that he wasn't, sure about or whatever. And it was just this continued things that going on. But I interrupted him. I said, you stop being hungry. It's because you're full of shit. So in essence, it's like, you're going to be full of something. Either you be full of your drive and motivation, or you're going to be full of excuses, a reason why you can't do something and being in spite of it. So just be mindful of that. Like, it's not just one area that you have to deal with. You're going to have to be multitasking, and you're going to have to step back from some things. And speaking of stepping back from some things, I recognize this weekend that I'm still struggling with validation. Even though I deleted social media, I deleted the app. I haven't actually deleted my account, and that's probably a stage eventually that I will get to if I can't manage it and come back on there in a healthy way. But even though I deleted Facebook, I deleted Instagram, I had a Snapchat, I had a TikTok, and all that stuff. I'm 45 years old. I don't need to be on there like that. But I deleted it, and it's like, I feel like, wow, like, what am I doing with my extra time? And I'm still trying to figure out how to steward my time back and wisely. Yes, I cleaned my house, and it was something that needed to be done. Not that I have a dirty house, but I just went to another level of cleaning it. But what I realized is that I'm still struggling with validation. Like, I deleted those apps, but I still pick up my phone to check and see if anybody texts me. Don't laugh, because you probably do that too. You know, your phone haven't rang or it hasn't vibrated or anything, and you pick it up to see if it's still working and if somebody wanted to contact you. And I felt myself doing that a lot lately, just checking it and checking it. And I heard this word on this station. It talks about the digital plantation, and I realized that um, that I've been slave to this digital plantation, like getting on there and just going and just not even understanding what I'm doing on the internet or online. It's just kind of just wasting time. So I found myself this weekend trying to even back up from that, of not wanting to pick up my phone. So, and it's challenging. So yesterday, what I decided to do is every time I picked up my phone and I wasn't actually intending to make a call, or it didn't ring or vibrate and me hear it, every time I picked it up to check it, I had to do 20 push-ups. So um, it was kind of challenging. I think I did more push-ups. I felt like I was in basic training again yesterday, because I was doing so many push-ups. And it gave me a physical representation of how much I'm still struggling with validation, and that I need to back off from it, because subconsciously I was cleaning, and all of a sudden I'll just check my phone, like, oh, okay, no one texts, no one called, put it back down, continue clean. But then I had to get down and do 20 push-ups. So now I think I'm going to continue that. So either one or two things are going to happen. Either I'm going to get rid of this validation issue of checking my phone and see if somebody's checking for me, or I'm going to be on here buff. You're going to be seeing me swole from all these push-ups and stuff doing. So maybe I may rotate it, push-ups and sit-ups, because I could drop a few in the midsection as well. But just challenge yourself. Like, maybe I'm not the only one that's struggling with validation. I mean, if you are an indication that you're struggling with validation, or that you have it in the infancy stages, is maybe, are you checking your phone when no one's calling and seeing if someone texts you? Are you posting stuff and then going back and seeing if someone liked it? And then are you disappointed when you post something that you think somebody is supposed to like and they don't like it? Like, truth be told, like, really analyze what's your motivation behind doing that. So I know it's there for me, and I don't think I'm the only one that it's there for. So just be honest and start doing the work in yourself to be able to become better. Because if you don't work it, then it's going to work you, and it's going to have you in positions that you don't desire to be in. So you just got to be careful and be mindful of how you navigate through the space. If you ignore it now, then it's going to be bigger later. So it's better for you to deal with these things as young kings than to be old and still doing young man shit, when you're supposed to be mature. So it's time to grow up on some things and become better. And it doesn't happen by accident. It happens with intention. You got to be intentional about the efforts in which you choose to develop, because the easiest thing is to do nothing. It's to sit down, it's to watch TV, it's just to have fun, entertainment. You enter and you're entertained, and next thing you know, your day is gone. So though yesterday was a lonely day, and it wasn't lonely because I was alone. It was lonely because I don't know. There's been times where people around. And I talked with a friend yesterday, and said God is enough. She said God is enough, and truth be told, it is. God is enough. But do you really believe that? And I'm not questioning anyone's faith or anything of that nature, but the reality of it is, if God was enough, then why are we still in a place where we have lack and loneliness? So, um, my loneliness is more of an indictment of my relationship with the Father, because He has created me whole, um, and I know that. But the reality of it is, it's like I still feel lonely, um, and that's what I want to be vulnerable enough to explain that to you, young kings. Is that manage that, manage that, because what you do during boredom can make or break you. You know, there's a lot of people that done destructive things just because they're bored. And you know, you heard the saying, "The idle mind is the devil's workshop." Um, and I think that when you get distracted and you get bored, some of the things people do to eradicate that boredom is destructive. So you got to be able to manage that lonely. Question yourself: why am I feeling this way? Why am I just not content with just being, not just understanding who I am and where I'm going in life, and what am I doing to try to improve that? So you gotta manage that, identify it, and then question it, question everything. Get to a position in life where you need to not just accept things. Um, there's coming time where you won't be able to drink it away. You won't be able to party it away. The only thing that you're going to be able to do is give your dream away. And that's one thing you want to come closer. You don't want to surrender that for, um, temporary satisfaction. So doing this process is just, it's important. And for me, um, it's an abstinence phase. So I want to remove myself from um, sexual temptation and stuff of that nature. So um, be careful who you engage in relationships with, especially if it gets to that of a sexual nature, because that can be destruction in itself. So, and it would be easy for me to self medicate and go off and do all those things that I'm saying I'm trying to avoid. But the reality of it is I gotta I gotta pay for it. And my mom, she used to have a saying back in the day. She says, "You can pay now and play later, or you can play now and then pay later, but you gotta pay." So I was talking to a young man at his graduation, and I explained to him that the next decade of his life, the next 12, he's 18, so I said the next decade plus of your life, the 12 years, is the most important decade of your life. Like, what you do during your 20s will determine how you live the rest of your life. Like, if you spend that decade of your 20s investing, and you spend it uh, equipping yourself with education, equipping yourself with experience, like that first half, if you're going to go to school and learn a trade, or go to traditional school and get the different knowledge that they say is necessary, not really necessary, but it helps you be able to have a competitive advantage and navigate through this world. It's their system. It's what they have. Um, you can disagree with it, but still, there comes a point where you got to understand, in order to advance, you're going to need a trade, or you're going to need some education, or you're going to need some way to market yourself, to set yourself apart. So that decade of your 20s is like the most important decade. What you do during that decade will determine how you live the rest of your life. Like, if you spend your 20s out in a club, just living your life, as you sort of people call living your best life, and I know we talked about that before, but that best life theory, I think, is going to cost a lot of people their dreams. It's going to cost a lot of people a lot of stuff, and they won't know that it's costing them it until it's too late. Like, they can party all they want, but then they're going to realize that you're broke. You didn't waste your resources on something that didn't add any value to you. You're broken. You didn't get into positions and relationships that you were never supposed to get into, just out of the things of just being out there and available. You develop bad habits. People get to drinking and they're doing different drugs, and then they getting DUIs and stuff like that because they're out and about. So there's a lot of stuff that if you try to live your best life, it can be challenging. And even that song, you got to really be questioning what you're putting in your spirit. I listened to that song last the other day. I think it was Friday or so. Even the song is like, really? It says you're not going to work today. You're living your best life. You just made, so much money off fraud. You're living your best life. I mean, is your best life a destructive life? Like the things people say. I mean, just if you get a chance, go listen to that song, and listen to the lyrics of it. It's like that is not your best life, and I mean, it's almost insulting that they would think that is your best life. Like that's the best you can do. They're not saying you're graduating from college, you're living your best life. They're not saying you're accomplishing your dreams, you're living your best life. They're not saying that you're doing something positive, you're living your best life. It's telling you they're doing destructive things. So just be mindful of that and how people, you can say it and have a mantra like, hey, this is my theme, this is what I'm going to go with. But is it really productive and adding value to your life? So really question that best life theory. But that 20s, how you spend those years is going to be very important, because a lot of people get to the tail end of it and they have that wake up call at like 29 and 28, 29, like I'm almost 30. Man, what I'm going to do in my life? And they try to play catch up. But it's like compound interest. You never make up. You never make up for that initial investment. So if you don't understand that now, you better learn it right away. And if you are still in your 20s, man, this is your time for you to grind, for you to take chances, and just really look into what you want to be. Because after you hit 30, people have the expectations that they're going to be, they're going to make it. Like they're going to be making the most money in their life, and they get frustrated because your age indicate that you're grown, but your education, your experience indicate that you're immature. So you need to start investing in yourself and really start getting to a point where you can advance and excel in life. So if you played in your 20s, you're going to pay the rest of your life. But I'm telling you, if you pay during your 20s, you'll be able to play. And I tell you, my 20s was grinding, multiple things that I did. And I won't even list them all here, but that was on the professional side. And I realized, like in my 20s, I played with relationships. And now I'm reaping some of the consequences behind that playing. So now I'm trying to recover from the things that I did in my 20s. So it's not just one area that you need to focus on in those 20s. Relationally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, all those things, how you steward that decade will reap benefits or consequences in your life. It's one of those things, the principle of you reap what you sow. And I'm praying that God gives me grace to be able to recover from some of these areas that I've tripped up on. But the reality of it is that's a principle that's out there and existing. So got a couple stories. Well, just one story going on because I need to get on to work. So that's why after I walked, I just went on the shower and changed. So I'll go right to work after this. But Friday night, I had a taco night with my daughters, and they have some friends and stuff over. And I have, moving into this house is just like been rebuilding process for me. As I mentioned, this rehab is just across the board. But I had knives, but they were kind of dull. So Friday I went and got some new knives. Or Thursday I went and got some new knives, some chef knives. I want to be a chef. I'm gonna cook it out. I'm just trying to improve, and that's what I've been trying to do in my free time is try and learn how to cook a little better. But I've been cutting fruits and vegetables with my dull knives and stuff like that. So bad technique. I've been just putting it in my hands and pushing it down, just stuff that I know better. I'm learning more and more that it's different. But the knives were dull, and it didn't hurt myself. But man, I try to do that same thing with one of these sharp knives, and I pierced my hand, and it just not only did it slice through. I think I was cutting a tomato, chopping some tomatoes up, but it was about to slice all the way through my hand with little effort, very little effort, and just I had to throw it away, and 'cause it started bleeding and everything of that nature. And I was like, man, I've been cutting tomatoes and cutting fruits, and I haven't managed to cut my hand, but different tools. And it's got to a point like, and now my spirit was quaking me. It's like, hey, the things that catch you up until this point, it's not going to be the same things that carry you forward. Like, I need to change my techniques. I need to get to a point in life where I use the proper techniques. Because when you got the right tools and you get in the right environment, if you still try to do something improperly, you're going to not only injure yourself, but you're going to injure others. So that was a lesson to me. I mean, the hand is still sore, and that little cut, like, is deep, and it hurts. And I put some peroxide and stuff on there, trying to help it heal and stuff like that. But I realized, like, that little misstep, it impacted a lot of my life, meaning that just how I do things, like even this morning shaving, like normally I put shaving cream on my hands and put it on my head and stuff like that, but I can't do that because I don't want to get it infected and have different stuff goes inside that cut. So now I'm down to just my, one hand to be able to do that. So it's just like simple things. If you don't use the proper techniques, it's not going to only impact one area of your life. It's going to impact other areas as well. Like that misstep and mistechnique of cutting that tomato happened Friday, but I'm still, of that improper technique, I'm still seeing benefits or consequences behind that Monday morning, getting ready for work. So just be mindful, like the areas that you neglect or that you don't use the proper technique in. There's going to come a season where some of you are extremely talented, and you can fake some things just because you're truly that gifted in something, and there's things that you're doing wrong that you're doing wrong, but people on the outside really can't notice. There's a few people that know, but for the most part, you got to camouflage. And we talked the difference between cure and camouflage on the last video. So if you didn't see that, go check that out. But you got to camouflage where you're not gifted, you can get by. But this is your warning now. If you're listening to this video and that's you, if you don't correct that in the dark, it's going to be exposed in light. Like, really think about it. Like, you need to really do a self-check and get better, because you know in you that you can do better than what you're doing, and it's laziness not to do it. And the thing about it is, like, if you don't correct it, the talent that you do have is going to diminish. There's a saying out there that says hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, and I added something on there, but at the end I put on, it's like, when talent works hard, it's hard to beat. So you're talented. You just got to work on your work ethic. And once talent works hard, it's hard to beat. But if you just talent, somebody who's working hard will come back and pass you where you think you are. And that's where you see people, they may be gifted in a particular area where they're young, and they're like years ahead of people, let's say in sports. They're good at it, but then as later years come up, they didn't practice or do something, and other people who weren't as good as them honed their skills and became better. So that's one of the things that you got to be careful of, that you don't get rocked to sleep by your gifts and your strengths, that you really start to develop and prepare yourself for your future. Because if you don't, you will be penalized for it. So that is your warning. And I want to close on this because there's some things that in my life that me cutting my hand, I recognize that I need to change the techniques. So during this phase, I said deleted the social media. I got my push-up regimen in place. I'm going to get buff, or get disciplined. But the reality of this is what I want to say. It's like this is a rehab that's going on, and I was looking at the steps when it talks about how to recover from an injury, and the first one is to allow healing to take place. So it's to recognize that you are injured, and to allow the body. I'm using the body as an example, but you understand that it's more than the body. But allow it to heal. So it went to the rest. And then after you go through the healing process, then there's a rehab process where you need to start rebuilding from that torn, whatever it is, that brokenness. You start rebuilding. And then after you get to the rebuilding, you get to a point where you get back to the normal steps of the normal range of motions, and you become come back to a normal state. But then I looked at it; it doesn't stop there. It says then strengthening for improved conditioning and range of motion. So it's not good enough just to get back normal. I'm abnormal. I'm not just trying to get back to where I was. I'm trying to exceed that. Like, I'm 45, and I just told my body today, like, we about to grind hard for another 5 years, and then we're going to do another assessment after that. But it's not just going back to just running. No, my body is about to be put in the clinic. It's about to, you either gonna get better or you're gonna break all the way down. So, but I'm gonna do it with wisdom. I'm gonna allow it to heal, but it's about to be punished. I mean, my body, it's really about to go through some changes and the development for this next 5 years, because I got goals, I got things I need to do, and I need to get my body, my mind, my soul, my relationships. I need to get all that in place. So I'm gonna close on this because I know we're going up on 30 minutes, and I probably need to get on back to work. Get on to work because I got about an hour drive. 2 Corinthians 5:17. I'm gonna start in 16, and I'll read it. It says, "Therefore, from now we recognize no one according to the flesh. Even though we have known Christ according to the flesh, yet we had known him in this way no longer. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he's a new creature. Old things are passed away, and behold, all things have become new." And the thing about this, and where we were talking about, and why this, it says the initial knowing, it comes through the flesh. So my injury, and we were talking about this in my leg, that is my flesh. But it doesn't stop there, and that's kind of a parallel with your relationship with God. It's like, yeah, it may start in the flesh, and you may get to a point where you following him because you see his hand and it's working, and you can see that. But this is not a flesh walk. This is one of walking in the spirit. So it says, therefore, if anyone in Christ, he is a new creature. The old things are passed away. So what you used to do won't work. Like, this spirit thing is sharper than a two-edged sword, like piercing through. And believe me, I got the mark. Like, when you get a sharper tool, if you have bad technique, you're going to get injured. And I recognize now, like, God has given me tools in my hand. I got to use them right, so I don't injure myself or injure others. So coming up on 30 minutes, I'm going to end there, Young Kings, and I'll get back with you on this rehab phase. But I challenge you, get off the digital plantation, punish yourself. Maybe you checking it so much, you may only need to do 5 push-ups because you still be buff. But mine's is at 20. I challenge you just to see how bad you are hooked to it by taking away. Sometimes you might think you don't have a problem until you try to stop. So stop it for a week. Stop it. Maybe today it's like, you know what? I'm not going to check my phone. I'm not going to check social media. And then every time you think about doing it, or you're going to do it, do your push-ups. Get down, or if you can't do push-ups, do your sit-ups. Or, maybe you can't do anything physical. Maybe you just say, hey, I'm going to read 5 minutes. For every time I check it, I have to go read 5 or 10 minutes. So whatever you do, grow, make it a great day. Be blessed, Young Kings.